And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at a game from Mayfair called Murano. Now this game, I love this area. I've never actually been there, but I've seen pictures of it, and it's very beautiful. The different color houses. They have a Universal Studios resort that's built the same way, and I just think it's cool. And I mean, sure, it's probably just yet another theme that's pasted on a game, but still, I thought it was cool and pretty, and the game itself has a lot of cool pieces and looks pretty neat when set up. It is a straight-up Euro game where you're moving pieces around to get points. Is it good? Let's check it out. The first thing we want to talk about is scoring. As you play, you're going to have some gondoliers that you'll have some, and some will be in the supply. And these gondoliers will be placed at different islands. You are also going to be getting these cards over the course of the game. At the end of the game, you will get 1 point for each gondolier that you don't have a card for. But if you do have a card for it, you use this card. For example, this one here says you get 10 points if you have at least 2 gondoliers on St. Pietro Martile. Okay, well, I massacred that name, but it's this island here. So if I had 2 gondoliers there, I would score that card, but I would need to remove one of them to score that card. So the more gondoliers you have on the board, with the more cards will score you different points. And points are going to be scored for various things, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But that's how you score. Now, the main mechanism of the game is on a player's turn, they are going to move one of these boats that's out here. And these boats are moving here around the board in a clockwise manner, or I'm sorry, in a counterclockwise manner. These boats are moving, and when it's your turn, you pick any one of the boats, and you move that boat as far as you want. The space you stop in is the action that you get. If there's another boat in front of you, you can't move it through it. However, you can move multiple boats. So if, let's say I want to go to this space, I could first move this boat off and then move this boat here. However, each additional boat will cost you money every time you move them. So if there's a lot of boats, let's say I wanted to go to this space, I would need to move this boat, and this boat before I can move this red boat into that spot. And that's basically how the game works. I'm going to move into a spot and take that action, and then it's the next player's turn. Everything revolves around that mechanism. Some of the actions will let you purchase different buildings. Other actions will let you place those buildings on the board. There's 4 different types of buildings. There's also streets that you can place. In fact, you have to place streets on the board to put buildings out. Streets are free to place, and some of them show different customers of different colors. The different buildings all have different things. The red buildings, for example, when you build one of those, you will draw the top cards from this stack of red cards, and these cards will give you special abilities. Remember that red boat you saw? It's the same as a black boat, but one of the buildings lets you move that red boat through other boats. Other buildings like this one here lets me switch the red and green stones, red and green beads. I can switch those out in front of each other. Some let me draw more cards. Some let me hire people for a cheaper price. So there's all different special buildings. There's also these yellow buildings. These are often used for scoring purposes. They'll just show a certain number of shields on them, and when they're placed on an island, perhaps an island says if it has the same number of shields as it has red customers, you get points. Then there are the white, these are shops, and when you put one of these on the board, you get to put a cube of your color to show that's your shop. And there are certain spaces that when you land on them, each of your shops will give you money for the number of customers that match that shop's color. So this is a black shop, therefore that customer in black there will give me 1 coin. If I had a red shop out on a board, that would give me 2 because there's 2 red customers on this island. Actually, I would get 3 because I get 1 for the black shop and 2 for the reds. And then finally, there are green buildings. These also let you put show that you control them. Whenever you utilize them, there's a spot on the board that lets you utilize them. For each one, you can lose 2 points. That's pollution. You lose 2 points, but you can draw from this bag and get these beads of colors. These beads you can immediately sell, depending on what colors you've drawn. One can sell for 5 coins, 2 of the same color for 12, and 3 of the same for 12. Or you can hang on to them maybe to sell them later. But there's also many of the scoring cards give you points for the beads, and some of the highest points in the game. Other than that, there are space on the board. You don't start with all your gondoliers, so you can get more of them. You can also sell some off. You can place them on spots. Each person has their own color. So when you place one, it costs 2 to place it on your own color, but you can pay 5 to place it on someone else's color on each island. So you have to be careful because your gondoliers might take the spots of other people on the different islands. And that's pretty much it. The game ends when 2 of these stacks are gone of buildings. Players are then going to score points, like I said, for the gondoliers / cards, and that's the only way you get points. Money is just a means of a way to get there. Most points is the winner. Murano is a game that has a giant rondel on it, I think, as you move those boats around. That's the whole focus of the game. And I'm not completely sold on that mechanism. I don't feel like... I understand what it is, but I never felt like there was much strategy in it. It's simply I look at the board and say, what ship should I move? What spaces are available to me? Which ones will cost me more? Planning ahead, trying to say, well, I'm going to move this here so I can get there in my next turn, that's worthless, especially if you play with a full complement of 4 players. So I look at my turn and say, okay, this is the spot I want. Can I get there? No. Okay, what's the second spot I can get to? Or I can get there, but I got to spend money. Is that worth it? There's some minor things where when you're moving a ship, you're like, well, I'm going to leave this one here because I'm not going to help so-and-so out. But as it is, I found that mechanism okay. But the rest of the game made up for it. Even though that boat thing is kind of essential, it's really interesting how it works. To me, it seems pretty obvious that you're going to want to start drawing these cards as fast as you can. There's one space when you land on it, you draw 3 of them, and then you pick one of them. So here I draw 3. This one here gives me 4 points for each shop on an island selling to red customers. So I look, maybe someone's already putting those out there on an island. So that's a good island to go to, or maybe now I know to put shops on one island that sells to red customers. Here, this one gives me 2 victory points for each shop on an island. Wow, that's great. If there's a lot of shops on one island, that would be a great card. This one here, if I have a gondolier on a very specific island, I can change up to 3 green beads for 7 victories each. Wow, that could be 21 victory points. Now, that seems awfully powerful, but at the same time, to get to draw from the bag, remember you lose 2 victory points every time you draw those beads from the bag. So I don't know. I don't know if that one will be worth it as much. So that's very interesting, and the cards here have different ones. Some just give you straight up points. Some give you points equal to the number of customers on an island. Some give you points for specific buildings on an island. And, you know, there's all kinds of cool cards in here, and I really like that feature of the game. I like trying to get those and put those out, and then making sure you get your gondolier out, because you might have the card, but your gondolier needs to be in the right spot on the right island, and someone may take your spot. And you might have to pay more money, and sometimes an island fills up, and then you have nowhere to go on that island. That makes Murano a very stressful game. Now, as much as I don't like stress, I don't mind that here because it was a good kind of stress. But man, I was sitting there the whole time. I draw a card, be like, oh yeah, I want this card, but there's only 1 spot left on an island. I hope someone doesn't get there first. Or, okay, I need to get this building built on this island before someone else does, because I need to have an exact number of buildings. You know, there might be a card that says if there's the same number of buildings as there is customers, you get points. Okay, I need to make sure that happens, so let's fill the island up with other points. Very stressful, and the money situation gets very tight. I mean, you can sell off your gondoliers for money. That's an easy way to get money, but then you're going to need them back, so you need to buy them back. It's more of a loan than it is money. Shops is a great way to get money, but it takes a while to set up. Mining is a very fast way to get money, but it costs victory points. Man, it's such an interesting balance of all these different things going on, and I thought the game was very solid and very fun. Even though it's kind of weird, even though that main mechanism didn't do anything for me, I was able to work with it because the rest of it was interesting to me, to try and get these exact scoring situations, and because they were so different, because each one felt very different, I thought the game felt fresh and original. So try it out. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. Murano. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool Stuff, in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.
Shut the door.